Was an issue. You could see, and the traditional healer, was a very pious Muslim scholar, really saw it as part of his Islamic duty to help his brother who was in distress.
What was the advice given to the husband?
Well,
then?
you would take the blood from the comb of a chicken, or of a cock, and use it, either putting it, rubbing it under the feet, or even at times on the penis.
Was it medicine or was it psychology, do you think? Do you think they just knew that if somebody relaxed, things might just get better?
I'm venturing, I'm assuming, yeah, maybe they really believed it's going to work,
I always feel like the healers would always say that. But in the 17th century, following Moroccan invasion, Timbuktu scholars began the first rewriting of this part of Africa's history. The Timbuktu tarikhs became a whole new literary and historical genre. The Great Tarikhs are a series of histories of the city and the wider region, written with the express purpose of supporting the existing elite's right to rule within the new Moroccan regime. Their authors drew on written records as well as oral traditions, reinterpreting the past in the light of subsequent events, much as a modern historian might do today, and as such, they need to be weighed carefully.
Le désavantage de l'écriture de l'histoire, le désavantage que nous
The disadvantage we have with the Tariq is a bias in the writing of history, because history is always written for the governing powers to the detriment of those that came before.
ou de ceux qui existent.
Mahmoud Kati, who wrote the history of the Songhai's Askia emperors, was one of their nephews, so don't expect him to be negative about the Askias.
Alors, n'attendez pas qu'il parle mal de l'Askia.
When you read the Tariq al-Fattash, you see an argument supporting the Askias and condemning the Sunni. Both are from the same family, but from opposing sides. Therefore, you find this political bias.
Vous verrez cette tendance politique. Dans le Tariq al-Soudan,
In the Tariq al-Sudan, you will find this same political bias, and on top of that, an argument for the religion. In the Tariq al-Nisyan, which is the story of the Moroccan dominance in Timbuktu, you find an argument in support of the powers in place at the time.
Ajami was another genre which flowered across the turbulent late 18th and 19th centuries, as some writers attempted to reach a wider audience among the ethnic groups along the Niger. The texts used an adapted Arabic script to write in local African languages. Ajami simply means any language which isn't Arabic. The warring Sufi brotherhoods especially used Ajami to popularize their brands of Islam. But Ajami is important in other respects too. It tells the people's history, with which the Tariqs weren't concerned.
Le texte Ajami,
the Ajami texts put on paper an oral tradition that was in danger of extinction. We find all sorts in there: poetry, songs, as well as texts on history. And sometimes history sings. The official truth is the one you find in the King's Court. But as soon as we go in the street and we see a mother breastfeeding her child, she sings the songs of our people. And that's where the truth is. It's a whole culture of which we don't make the most of today. But we should, because you can't have a comprehensive understanding of African culture without the Ajami text.
Alongside glorious oral traditions, the manuscripts represent an exciting new resource, which the government is doing its best to protect. But Mali is one of Africa's poorest countries, with many pressing issues. Just 50 years old, the modern state of Mali is still concerned with its own internal security. This is a monument to a 1996 peace deal with the Tuareg. The tribesmen have been rebelling sporadically against the government ever since the modern state of Mali was created in 1960. The last president, Alpha Conakry, worked hard to heal divisions. But many Tuareg want greater autonomy, even their own homeland. It's been a rocky road to a tentative peace. And then there are the scorching sands of the Sahara, whose creeping advance threatens to overwhelm the town and has already created a more arid landscape. And with parched ground comes the destructive danger of flash floods that wreck buildings and reduce manuscripts to pulp. On top of all Timbuktu's problems, the floodplains of its lifeblood, the River Niger, have gradually retreated over the centuries. Where once they reached the city outskirts, now they don't even come within 5 kilometers of the town.
The quarter where I live is called Bajinde, and Bajinde means the channel of the hippopotamus. That was when the river used to come there, but now it's gone.
During a state visit to Timbuktu, Libya's Colonel Gaddafi made an offer of help. Gaddafi asked the townspeople what they'd like most. A school, a hospital, anything. They said water. And so this is Gaddafi's gift. A canal, bringing the waters of the Niger River back to Timbuktu once more. Apart from offering the possibility of irrigating the desert scrub and bringing agriculture back to Timbuktu, the canal has also given the townsfolk a welcome new diversion. Late afternoon along the banks of the city reservoir, and people have come to enjoy the water and each other's company. The reservoir is only a few months old, one of the changes that have come to Timbuktu. There are other changes. Western ideas and influences are easy to spot, especially amongst Timbuktu's youth. More visitors will bring much needed prosperity, but all the hazards of a tourist industry too. Still, the people of Timbuktu clearly don't want to remain a desert outpost and are taking positive steps towards change. These days, Timbuktu is busy renewing its links with the outside world. Hay-on-Wye on the Welsh borders is the latest town to be twinned. Apparently, it was a toss-up between Hay and Glastonbury. No surprise then that a town of books with its own international literary festival won out. The process of reinvention is making its mark on the townscape. A state-of-the-art new home for the Ahmed Baba Institute is nearing completion next to the Sankore Mosque. It's a radical juxtaposition of new and old. Many here hope that by exploiting the legacy of the manuscripts, they can not only regain their status as an international centre of culture, but secure an economically viable future.
The manuscript which you have seen can become a real industry. They can be like a mine, like a gold mine.
This cultural renaissance will rediscover our manuscripts. They will be broadcast and the whole world will be more knowledgeable. And Timbuktu will be like a lighthouse, lighting up all of Africa.
If you come back in 10 years' time, you might find that people wanting to visit the moon will decide to come to Timbuktu instead. Anything's possible.
The last time I was in Timbuktu, my visit was just a fleeting one. But having spent 2 weeks in the town, I think what surprised me most is the sheer scale, the sophistication, and the antiquity of the civilization that existed here. What I've discovered is that in Timbuktu, history isn't measured in centuries. It's measured in millennia. Timbuktu teaches us that history is a game of chance, that the ambitions of powerful men affect ordinary folk, and events thousands of miles away can change fortunes, that wealth and cultural aspirations are intricately linked, but most of all why reading matters, then and now.
Reading represents a meeting with myself and then with others. It's a form of dialogue through time and space.
For me, reading is an inexhaustible source of knowledge.
Reading is the only way to get access to the universal knowledge, and we cannot be outside of this universal knowledge.
The first leg of my journey home is a relatively short one to Mali's capital, at least in terms of miles and minutes. Here in Bamako, almost